What is it about that car, huh? I don't know. Maybe it's just that for the first time in my life, I found something that's uglier than me. And I know I can fix her up.
Christine, from 1983, directed by John Carpenter, starring Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, and Harry Dean Stanton. This is an adaptation from a Stephen King novel. This movie starts off in 1957 in Detroit at the car assembly line. They are building the 1958 Plymouth Fury. And down that assembly line comes a cherry red, gorgeous Plymouth Fury. And from day one, since this car was built, caused a lot of chaos. So first, this guy opens up the hood and checks the engine. The hood shuts down on him and injures him. Later, there's a guy just walking along the line, and he gets inside the car and he's smoking a cigar. And then later that day, he's found dead. Christine already claiming lives, and she's just been born. Fast forward to Rockbridge, California from 1978. It fast forwards about 20 years. And we meet our main character, Arnie Cunningham, being picked up by his friend Dennis, who's like his really good friend. But the difference between him is that he's kind of like a popular guy and Arnie's a very dorky guy. While Dennis is waiting for him, his Arnie's like overbearing mother is like yelling at him to like, hurry up and get ready for his first day. And right away it shows him walking out and he's taking out the garbage, but it falls everywhere. And so his mom's just like, forget it, just go. And so they're on their way to school. On their way to school, Dennis tells Arnie that like he needs to get more confident and, get a girl, get laid. And, it seems yucky, but that's what guys did. Dennis is waiting for Arnie at lunchtime, and when he doesn't show up, he asks somebody where Arnie is, and somebody tells him that he's stuck at shop class. And that's where we meet a group of bullies picking on Arnie, and they won't give him his lunch.
Forget Mr. Casey. Come on. You want to go for it? Put the knife down and I will. I've done a knife record. You want to make me put it down? Hey, you got a knife and he doesn't. In my book, that makes you a chicken shit. Yeah, that's chicken shit.
The main bully, named Buddy, looks like he's pushing 40, destroys his lunch and breaks his glasses. And before things get worse, the fight is interrupted by a teacher, and Buddy ends up getting suspended. Dennis and Arnie are on their way home when Arnie notices something off the side of the road, and he tells Dennis to pull over. What does Arnie see? The Plymouth Fury, and it's in pretty bad shape. There's a for sale sign on it, and Arnie wants to buy it like right away, and Dennis is like, "Are you crazy?"
Her name's Christine.
I like that. Your brother loves this car so much. Why is he selling it?
Because he's stone cold dead, that's why.
Arnie ends up buying the car, and the car's name, Christine. Later on, it's showing at his house, his mother is angry and disapproves of him having this car. So she tells him that he can't park that car there. So he ends up finding like a body shop like close by. And the owner's like an asshole, but he is going to let him keep his car there. And also offers him like a job in exchange for like car parts. He could like, do some small odd jobs around the car shop. Also at school, we're introduced to a new student named Lee, who Dennis and his friends like drool over. And one of his friends actually makes these awful comments like, she looks like a slut and she looks like she puts out. And then it shows them at the library and he's like asking Dennis to go ask her out. So he finally works up the courage to walk over to her and ask her out, but he's immediately shut down. And she tells him, well, I have a date, ... Later on, it shows Dennis going to Arnie's house because I think they had plans to do something. But already you can see that there's a change in Arnie. Like he's no longer wearing his glasses and he's dressing a little different. And he's on his way out the door, and he kind of like, tells off his mom when his mom's trying to like tell him like, hey, did you have plans with Dennis? And he's just like, I gotta go, sorry.
Ever since he bought that car, he's been obsessed with it.
After Arnie drives off, his mom actually reveals to Dennis that when they tried to get the car registered, they found out that the owner had died in that car. Dennis goes back to the guy that sold Arnie the car, and like he tells him straight off, like he wouldn't have bought that car if he knew the car's history.
I would have never bought that car if you'd known somebody died in it.
Either you're dumber than you look, or you don't know your friend very well. He had the same look in his eye my brother always had. Probably the only thing my brother ever loved in his whole rotten life was that car. No shit ever came between him and Christine. If they did, watch out.
Later that evening, Dennis actually sneaks into the body shop where he parks Christine, and he wanted to just inspect it a little bit, and he tried to open the door, and the radio suddenly kicks on really loud and startles Dennis, and then he runs back out of the shop. Fast forward to one of Dennis's football games. He's just playing, and then he notices that Arnie pulls up to the game. But Arnie is not alone. Lee is his date. So Dennis is running down the field trying to catch a ball, and Arnie and Lee are just like making out. And I guess this distracts him so much that another player runs into him and he gets injured pretty badly. So Dennis is at the hospital. He's got a broken leg and a fractured neck, and he's visited by Arnie. And so Dennis just has a few questions. Like he wanted to ask about Lee and how on earth did he get Christine like fixed up like that? And of course Arnie's just like, oh, just hard work. And he even asked about his mom, like, hey, I'm surprised your mom like registered that car. And Arnie just tells him, like, well, if they didn't do it, I would have dropped out of school. And Dennis is like, seriously? And Arnie's like, yeah. Later on, Arnie and Lee are at the drive-in on a date, and it's like pouring rain outside. And they're making out pretty heavily, and he's trying to like cop a feel, but like she's refusing his advances. And finally, she says, no, she can't do this, and runs out of the car. And he wants an explanation, but she's just like, I can't do this, like, in that car.
I thought girls were supposed to be jealous of the girls, not cars.
This car's a girl.
Oh, please.
Really?
Cut it out. Don't.
What? Don't like me slapping your girl?
At some point at the drive-in, the speaker stops working, so Arnie gets out to try to fix it. And she goes in to take a bite out of a burger, and so this was the moment where Christine's just like, choke on it, bitch. Doors lock and the radio turns on, and so she starts choking. And so Arnie notices that she's choking, so he's trying to get in the car, but the door's locked. And so she starts choking more and more, and eventually she's saved by some stranger that ends up opening her side of the door and gives her the Heimlich maneuver. And it doesn't explain who he is, where he came from, but like he ends up saving her life, and Arnie did nothing. So he takes her home later, and they start fighting about it, how he didn't do anything and she could have died from choking. Then Arnie says that she's probably sexually frustrated, ends up pushing him off, and then that's when her porch light comes on, and he immediately apologizes to her and to see if he could like call her later, but she doesn't really give him a clear answer. She just goes inside the house. So he goes back into the car and it won't start, and so he talks to Christine a little bit, like, oh, come on, just start for me. So Christine ends up starting back up, and so he drives off. He parks Christine back at the body shop, but the group of bullies end up sneaking in there after hours, and they end up destroying the car. The next day, Arnie and Lee are walking together to his car, and that's when he notices that it is absolutely destroyed. And Arnie has no words, and Lee just feels so bad. And she actually tries to console him, but he completely flips out on her and starts screaming. And later on, he ends up flipping out on his parents too, and says that it's their fault that they wouldn't let him park his car there. And then later on, it shows Arnie sitting in the car, just devastated. But this is when you see that Christine has some supernatural powers going on with it. He talks to the car throughout the movie as if like they're reading each other's minds, as if Christine is alive. And so he gets out of the car and faces her, and he's like, okay, show me, like referring to like maybe he's being told that the car can fix itself, which it does. So piece by piece, it shows Christine repairing itself, the doors, the mirror, like everything. And after Christine is repaired, it's time for revenge. The first bully is Moochie. It shows him just kind of out and about, taking a walk, and he notices Christine. And of course, he's just like, is that you, Cunningham? Which is Arnie's last name. And, headlights turn on and starts chasing him. So he's running, and eventually he gets cornered. And he thinks that he's in a safe spot, but sure enough, like the car just kind of forces itself into a narrow alley and ends up crushing him. After that incident, there's a detective played by Harry Dean Stanton, and he goes to Arnie to question him about where he was and tells him about Moochie. And then Arnie, he has nothing to tell him. He's just brushing him off well, I was here the whole time. I've just been working on my car, so I don't know anything about that. So Christine's next victims is Buddy and Rich, the other bullies. And they're at a gas station, and then Christine, rams into the gas station, blows up the whole thing. There's a huge fire. And so Buddy is running down the street, running, and Christine, while on fire, is still chasing after him. And it's a very creepy scene, but awesome. And eventually Christine catches up to him, runs him over. Later on, it shows Christine returning to the body shop, and Arnie's boss sees the car, and so he's getting his shotgun and walks up to the car, and it's all charred to bits. And he's asking for Arnie to get out of the car, but when he finally goes up there and opens the door, no one's in there. And so, I don't know what prompts him to do this, but he actually just gets inside and sits down. And then once he sits down, the radio turns on, and then the seat starts pulling forward so much that it ends up crushing him. So the detective is back at the body shop, and Arnie is asking him, why do you keep bugging me? I don't know anything. And the detective had to tell him, well, we found your boss in your car, dead with a shotgun next to him. So yeah, we're going to need some answers. So Arnie runs up to his car, and once again, Christine is pristine. And the detective tells him, well, you can't go near your car right now because we have to collect evidence. Later, Lee actually calls Dennis, and she wants to talk to him about Christine. And so later on, they get together, and she actually has questions for him about Arnie, about how he's been acting different and all that stuff. And so Dennis was like, I thought you had questions about Christine. And she's like, well, yeah, but what do you know about this car? So Dennis tells her what Arnie's mom told him about how the owner of the car died in it, and just a brutal history about Christine in general. And she tells Dennis that she swears it's the car and not Arnie is why he's acting this way. There's just something about that car that's possessing him to act different and say different things than he normally would. Later on, Arnie is there to pick up Dennis to go for like a ride somewhere. And so that's when Dennis like wants to question him. Dennis is trying to tell him that he's changed ever since he's gotten this car, but Arnie Darko is not listening.
A little something about love, Dennis. He has voracious appetite. He needs everything. Friendship, family. It kills me how much it eats. But I'll tell you something else. You feed it right, and it can be a beautiful thing, and that's what we have. You know, when someone believes in you, man, you can do anything, any fucking thing in the entire universe. And when you believe right back in that someone, then watch out, world, because nobody can stop you. There's nobody, ever.
Finally, Dennis and Lee just come up with a plan to like sneak into the body shop and try to destroy Christine themselves. So they go in there and then they get on a bulldozer, and so they're looking for the car to try to like crush it. So at this point, Arnie is fully possessed behind the wheel of Christine and chasing down Lee, who was trying to like get the car in the open so that Dennis can like catch it and bulldoze it. Dennis hits Christine a few times, but they see before their eyes that Christine is repairing itself very easily. He is being chased by Christine all across the body shop, and at one point Christine crashes and Arnie behind the wheel flies out of it, eventually killing him. And so Christine wants the ultimate revenge. Christine is chasing Lee. Meanwhile, Dennis is following Christine with the bulldozer, and eventually he does catch up to the car and starts hitting it over and over, eventually going over the car, crushing Christine over and over and over. And so eventually Christine ends up in a cube. The last scene of the movie is the detective, Lee, and Dennis looking at the cube. And Lee and Dennis tell the detective that they feel bad that they couldn't save Arnie. And so the detective's just like, well, you know, you did what you could, but, you know, he just couldn't be saved. And so they suddenly start hearing like some like 50s rock and roll, but it ends up being just some dude like listening to his radio. And so Lee's just like, oh, I hate rock and roll. And but the very, very last scene, it shows a close-up of the cube and what looks like the grill of the car. You could see a little bit of movement. So it kind of opened itself up to maybe a sequel. But yeah, that's the end of Christine. I love this movie so much. It's one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. And I watch this movie all the time. I love it. So I want to hear from you. If I left anything out, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what your favorite Stephen King adaptation is. Your favorite John Carpenter movie. Let me know.